All right, here we go. Welcome to next week's Life Podcast. Something we've been doing for a few months now. We're having a lot of fun with it. I'm Mike Stramaglio. You may remember me from a couple of probably adventures at BTA or ECS or somewhere in the world. So welcome to the show. I'm very fortunate and honored to have two really important, cool guests, if I might say. One coming from the growth side of the business, a copier dealership who is actually making the transformation from core copier into the IT world. So I'm gonna introduce them, and I'm gonna start with Ray. So Ray, if you don't mind, why don't you give us a couple of minutes on your background, where you're located, your dealership, and a little bit about yourself, and then I'll do the same thing for Brian from TAG. So if you don't mind, Ray, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mike. As Mike said, Ray Derstine from Altek Business Systems in Telford, Pennsylvania. We're all the way down in the southeast corner of Pennsylvania, about 25 miles northwest of Philadelphia. And we've been in business since 1991. So we just celebrated our 31st anniversary this past April. So we're very proud to have made it that far. I've been in the business since '81. It's really making me feel old when I tell people when I got in the business. It seems like when I talk about my birth year and my year entering the business anymore, they seem ancient, especially when I'm talking to the most of the employees in our company anymore seem to be in the 25 to 35 age bracket, and certainly have become the senior member of the team here. But been in the business a long time. Started like everyone else, selling copiers and fax machines, and branched out from there. When they became digital, got into the printer market, and over the last 10, 12 years have recognized that we needed to diversify it as print is slowly eroding, and managed network services have always been have been a target for us, and we've dabbled in it, got out of it, dabbled in it, got out of it several times before finally gaining some traction over the last couple of years.
Well, Ray, we're going to come back to that in a little bit, but I want to introduce Brian Suerth from TAG. So if you don't mind, Brian, give us a little background about yourself and TAG, and frankly, your experience right now in the copier business. So Brian, if you don't mind, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Michael. Greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate the opportunity to have yourself and Ray here. And so my name is Brian Suerth. I'm the president of Technology Assurance Group TAG. We're a training, education, and consulting company for companies that sell technology. We're also a very proud partner within the consortium, and we're excited about ECS coming up in January here in 2023. So thank you, Michael. We're proud to be in your group along with the movers and shakers of our industry in terms of helping to evolve this industry. But going back to TAG, we've been around since 1998. Our whole goal in life is to help companies evolve, emerge, and transition into new technologies. So we call our customers members. We have members in 136 marketplaces throughout the U.S. and Canada, and our members combined do almost $1 billion in annual products and services in terms of their sales as an aggregate. So what do? Our whole goal is to increase their profits and sales, and we do it through better business practices in all different areas of their business, from sales training to financial analysis. We've had the privilege of looking at over $7 billion since '98. And so we have our own model, and we can get very granular, helping what levers to pull, push to make organizations within this industry much more profitable. We're all about recurring revenue and driving recurring revenue. We like to help everyone achieve nirvana. Nirvana is where you get to your monthly nut is covered through recurring revenue. And so we do everything from that to operations management, to M&A, to strategic planning, to helping our members hire their employees, and whether it's salespeople, technicians, GMs, you name it, we're all about helping them grow, evolve, and then also transition into other technologies. So we've had a lot of success doing that over the years. We've transitioned hundreds of telephony companies into managed IT starting 18 years ago. We started transitioning a lot of break-fix IT companies into managed IT. And then we were fortunate to join the BTA about 4 years ago. And we were fortunate to obviously meet Michael, yourself, your organization, Gavin and Hero, and it's been a wonderful relationship. But also in our involvement in the BTA, over the last few years, we've met a lot of great organizations like Ray. Ray is one of the premier members within TAG in helping copier companies be successful in transitioning into other technologies. Obviously, managed IT is one, telephony is another. Many have a huge opportunity in transitioning into physical security. So we do everything from helping them get into that business. If they're already there, we help them do it more profitably, sell more, choose the right technology stack, operationally, how to deploy it successfully, be productive with it, and increase the profitability that they desire. So that's a real high level of what we do. We're passionate about what we do. We love what we do. We've enjoyed a great relationship with the BTA, the Pro Dealer Group, and other groups like the Select Dealer Group, and American Co-op and others. And it's been a phenomenal ride within the traditional copier industry.
Well, Brian, thank you. That's a great overview, and thank you for the mention about the Executive Connection Summit. We're honored to have you. It's been a fun experience the last few years, even before COVID. So thank you for joining. And Ray, so besides the fact that you're still a youngster compared to me, so I came into the business, if you can believe it, in 1975. So that's been a long time. So I'm way ahead of you on the curve, buddy. But Ray, we wanted to talk a little bit. We did talk a little bit actually prior to this particular podcast about the business itself. About um, basically IT services and this transition for copier dealers, et cetera. And clearly, I think it's safe to say that some 20 or 25% of the population have done more than dabbled in IT services. But how do you see, because you are obviously a premier dealer and a premier partner for TAG, how do you see your adventure from core copy machine business to your few years or 2 years that you've been really getting aggressive in IT? What would you say, if you were going to sum it up just quickly, and then I'd like to get a little deeper dive? What are the biggest obstacles for a dealer? What was your experience? Where did you hiccup? And what might you recommend to the dealer community that they take a look at as they move these next steps forward? So that's a lot of questions really rolled up into one. But if you don't mind, you've been successful, so please share some of that with our audience.
Well, I think as we were talking a little bit about before, we did stumble through this transition over the last 8 to 10 years. There's been a number of times that we've got into it. We've done one step forward, two steps back, and really questioned at times whether this is really the direction we wanted to go in. But I think going through the recession and back in '08, and then the COVID experience in 2021, it really cemented in my mind that we need to diversify, and this certainly seems to be the best way to go. I mean, we're all dealing with digital products day in and day out, connected to the networks of our companies, our customers. They trust us with the connectivity portion already. It just is a logical extension of the business services that we're already providing. But I think the thinking back, one of the areas that maybe we stumbled in was I tend to get excited when I see different products and services, and I've told people I've never been real creative. I play guitar, I used to paint, that kind of thing, but I never created my own music or my own artwork. I was better at copying or imitating something else, did cover stuff. So same thing with business. I've not been real creative, but when I see something that I think makes sense and that other people are succeeding in, that's something we should be able to copy. Well, numerous times, including when we met Brian at a BTA session or later at a Pro Dealer Group session. I got very excited again about the managed network services, the becoming an MPS and or a managed service provider, MSP, and really seeing the potential of this. But I think what I failed to do early on was get some of the other managers in our company as excited about it as I did. Some of that I'm going to throw the blame on COVID. I was thinking about this, Brian, the other day, that we first entered conversations with you in the fall of 2019, if I remember, and we actually had purchased tickets for Wilhelm, for my director of IT services. We had flights planned and tickets purchased for a couple days out in San Diego to visit TAG and to visit Brian and just to hear more about the products and services that you had, and started hearing about this virus. There was stuff traveling through the news about this contagious virus that some people were canceling flights, other people were canceling business meetings. And I remember Brian saying, "We're still flying everywhere. We're not scared of this thing." But Wilhelm had reasons for not wanting to take chances. Started getting the more I talked to other people, the more leery I got. We finally called Brian and said, "I've got to postpone this for a little bit. Let's let this blow over, and over the next couple of months, and we'll be out." Well, looking back now, it wasn't a 6 to 8 weeks delay. It turned out to be 2 years plus. But when we finally we're able to schedule a trip to get Wilhelm and also Scott, who's our director of operations here, who oversees the sales department, out to visit TAG. That's when things really took off. When the two of them became engaged and saw what it was all about. I think I had a lot more buy-in. Let me say that. It seemed like before I was the one getting excited about it. I couldn't generate the excitement that I thought we should have had within a company here until we had a chance to get other members of our team in front of TAG.
So, if I can basically ask a quick question, and I want to come back to Brian on this. So, it's understandable that COVID would have interfered with the logic, and of course, a lot of times, the CEO of a dealership might come back with an idea, and there might not be the buy-in from the secondary leadership team or your partners, right? Because something's lost in the translation. But when you started the process with TAG and you started moving forward, what percentage, if you don't mind my asking, what percentage of your overall business at that point was IT services or anything related?
Of our total revenue back in 2019 when we entered would have been around 2 to 3%.
Okay, so it was really
very low,
very, very low.
And most of that was billable project work, very little to nothing in the way of managed services.
So fast forward to today, what percentage might that be?
We completed last year with 10% of our revenue being IT related, and most of that now coming from managed services, which is a big improvement over 2 years ago.
And obviously, we're going to attribute that to your great team and to the input or influence from TAG. Is that a safe assumption?
Definitely is. Yes, I think early on we had different ideas as to how to enter this marketplace, and I think a lot of us attacked the managed network services as we did copiers, and we go out there and the copier mentality is I'll get a sale one way or the other, whether I make any money on the hardware or not, to get the aftermarket. Well, I think what we forgot early on was the managed service contract is the aftermarket, so we can't go out there and discount it just to get the deal and worry about making profits later on, because there is no upfront sale. It's other than your onboarding, you can't highly discount this stuff just to get revenue and expect to make any money. So that was something TAG taught us. It took a little while to get us to understand and agree that we've got to be selective, and this is not everybody is a prospect for us. Not everybody is willing to pay for somebody to come in and partner with them to really become that trusted advisor and not just a discount IT service.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit over to Brian. So Brian, you've been doing this a while. You've been working with some dealers. We're hearing success stories like Bray has had or enjoyed over the last couple of years. And of course, there's the weird free radical COVID variable in all of this. So I'm kind of curious. When you started working with Ray, your first impression was, okay, this is a classic copier guy, and how did you think to modify your approach, or what was your expectation, and how did it work out, especially pertaining to the little bit of a disconnect maybe between the leadership team and Ray? So is that, yeah.
Yeah, no, great question, Michael. So number one, Ray saw the opportunity, and like he said, got excited about what we were going to bring to the table, and and he had components in place, right? Wilhelm, just to let everybody know, is their CTO, right? He's in charge of their technology, director of managed IT, and Scott is a great VP of sales. And once we started to immerse the two of them into all that Tag does, it was just downhill from there. It's been a phenomenal relationship. Both gentlemen were here just a couple months ago for a key management boot camp, a 3-day boot camp that Tag puts on in the summertime, where we immerse them in sales and financial analysis and management, strategic planning, and you name it, customer experience. And both gentlemen stood up in front of the class and said, "We didn't realize how much Tag has to offer. Everyone in this room, please adopt what they say and take advantage of all the resources that are here, because the breadth and depth is definitely very extensive." But it's just a matter of us getting to know the individuals and the players like Wilhelm and Scott, and then just for us to show all the different things that we do. And it's consistent, though. It's consistent across the board of what we found when we entered the copier space a few years ago. Those companies like Ray's that have entered that space, new to it, didn't have the background like we do for all the years that we've been in this industry with IT and telephony and everything else. And there's a few common common mistakes that the copier dealer has made, kind of trying to get into managed IT. And one of them, a couple of them, just to name a few, is one is pricing, right? Out of the gate pricing. The lowest pricing we've seen in the IT space has come from the copier industry. So that's one of the areas that we zero in on first, and I think probably Ray alluded to it a little bit. We do the in-depth analysis of what we do, financial analysis, and then we do an analysis of their pricing. And we sit back and say, well, if you want to achieve 20% EBITDA, which our members achieve, and we get it to beyond 20%, because industry average in IT is only 5 to 7 points EBITDA. So we start with pricing, and we sit back and say, we work hand in hand with Scott and Wilhelm and say, okay, here's the deal, here's how big the transaction is, and here's what the price should be to achieve 20% EBITDA on every single transaction. And as Ray said, they became more selective, and they started using a sales process that we have here at TAG, designed to get an 85% close. If you do that process, you're selling on value, not on price, and so you can achieve what you want to achieve from a profitability perspective when you get there. So both gentlemen saw, really fully immerse themselves in it. Ray and Cindy did a great job of diving into the financial analysis for us to take a look at. Another area where Ray didn't have this issue, but a lot of copier companies do, is that if they do have an IT business, they have way too many technicians trying to support that IT business. So unfortunately, they're losing money because they don't price it. They got too many technicians trying to support the little business that they have. They don't have the right technology stack. So we've helped Ray's company and others create the technology stack that's the best thing for the end user, but it's the most profitable for the copier company as well. So that's just a few to name there, but it's been a great relationship. I actually just saw Scott and Wilhelm a couple of weeks ago in Baltimore. In addition to all the trainings that we do throughout the year, we also have regional meetings. So we had the Eastern region of TAG members all get together in Baltimore, and Scott and Wilhelm were there, and they're soaking everything in with what we do and what our fellow members do, and they've been great contributory to our membership as well. So it's a give and take. We build our TAG off of we believe in the philosophy, you give more than you take in life, and we bring in companies into TAG that give more than they take. And Ray and Wilhelm and Scott and Cindy and that they're definitely live to that virtue, and it's when we're able to do that, it's a great relationship and a great partnership, and ultimately it turns into a great friendship.
So when you, and thanks, that's a fantastic overview of, what TAG offers. And I'm glad to hear that, some of the guys from Ray's operation are saying, geez, I didn't even know you had all that. So that's always a good thing when you have more tools to work with, right? So a couple of quick things I'm curious about. When you hear dealers today, and they try to define IT services, or they're trying to define their expansion into these new environments. Probably two quick questions. Number one, are you surprised by the various definitions of what they think is IT and how they're going about it? And the second one is the second question related. Are you working within your existing customer base with the offering? So that'd be more for Ray, or are you looking still for net new types of businesses or accounts? So, Brian, I'll start with you on that one.
Okay, yes, that's another interesting arena, or I guess thought that you say when we first entered the copier world and started getting to know this industry, and what I found, those that say they're doing some form of IT, it could be across the board. They think it's managed IT, but it's really break fix, or they think it's managed IT, but they're selling blocks of time. So it's definitely a loose definition of managed IT. And so when we kind of peel back the onion when we're talking to any potential copier company that we'll work with and say, really evaluate, we do this anyway, but we really evaluate all the way down to everything that they're doing and how they're truly defining it. And we get involved into and look at and evaluate every single transaction that they have. Is it break fix? Is it truly managed IT? And then if it is managed IT, are they making money, losing money, and what they should do to the next steps to either right size their existing accounts, and then from there sell new or bring on new accounts at the right price it should be. But yeah, it's very loose definition of.
So a dealer
IT.
could expect help from TAG in either establishing and or defining what their IT services business should be. Is that part of your offering?
Absolutely. Yep, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So two ways. So if a company like Ray's is doing some form of IT today, what we do is we evaluate their package, and then we sit back and say, okay, here's what the package should be. Here's everything that should include into it, because we look at their tech stack, right, first and foremost, and see what's in the tech stack. And in most cases, we need to add to that tech stack to truly give the best um, vehicle or engine to that customer to protect their business and maximize their productivity and maximize their profitability. If a dealer's not in it, we start off and we walk them and handhold them into the managed IT business, which we've been doing in other industries. As I mentioned, about 20 years, close to 20 years ago, we started with the telephony industry, and we handheld those that weren't in um, IT to get into IT, because back then we said, he who owns the land owns the customer. And if you were just a telephony dealer at the time, oh, by the way, telephony is a relatively small application on the land. So if you don't own that land, you don't own that customer. And I think now the office technology industry is realizing that as well. And there's huge opportunity for companies like Ray, huge opportunities, because of the great name he's been able to, over the last 30 some years, his reputation, his brand, the relationships that he has with his customers. And now, you put that package together, and you'll see the signs of, like you said, he's been able to, in a very short period of time, grow his business, and he's doing it with both existing and new customers.
So let's switch over to Ray on that one. So I hear all kinds of things about how dealers are going to the marketplace. Some of it is extremely brilliant. I mean, very effective. Some of it is kind of curious to me. But when you look at how you're growing your overall business, first question would be, is your overall business up, including the IT services business? So if we can answer that one real quick, then we'll move to the other one.
It is. Yes, we are very fortunate to be able to report that this year in 2020 2022, our overall business is on target to achieve just about a 50% growth. We're about 38%
Oh, nice.
year over year over 21.
Wow.
And
That's great.
are
Yeah.
much higher this quarter. So thank you.
Yeah.
And of that, our IT business portion of that has been growing at 50% clip every year. This year we are up about 51% year over year over last year in our IT portion, so that continues to grow. Um, and as Brian said, there's a number of reasons for that. I think a big part of the tag services that we weren't taking advantage of early on with their assistance with our sales team. I think tag was looked at by some in our company as an IT company that could teach us to provide better IT services and not necessarily show us how to sell. I mean, I think copier companies, we all think we all know how to sell, but again, selling copiers is different than selling IT services. So what we were able to do was use tags resources. Ryan out there has both been in here for I think a 2-day course with Dale, running our salespeople through it, as well as new salespeople. We have them spend 2 or 3 months once a week on the phone with Ryan, just reviewing how to sell IT services, and even down to as they're finding prospects, reviewing these prospects and coming up with strategies for how to attack and how to close those prospects. The other thing was, Brian mentioned the stack, the technology stack, and that's something that I think we had overlooked early on. I was getting some resistance here, and I think some of it has to do with the fact we go out and hire people like Wilhelm who have experience in the industry, in the IT industry, and we're hiring them because of their experience. They come in just like me. If somebody was to hire me to come in and start a copier sales division, and then wanted to hire a company to teach me how to sell copiers, I'd probably be a little resistant. I think, I know how to sell copiers, and I that's the type of resistance I was getting. Even with the technology stack, we had our own stack per se, maybe not as many products and services as what Tag brings to us, but the problem is, as a small company, you don't have the personnel to devote to research on all of the different technologies out there to not only find out which are the best, but then also negotiate best pricing with them. As a smaller dealer, I can't get the same pricing from Microsoft or from a VoIP company as what Tag can negotiate when they're negotiating for I don't know, many companies, many partners nationwide that are going to be buying from these partners. So not only are we able to pick and choose pre-vetted partners that they have in their technology stack and know that these are going to be better than what we could probably find our own, but we also have negotiated pricing, which is better than what we can get on our own.
So you avoided the dumb tax.
Yeah. That's what we try to do. Like we like to tell everybody that we've made every possible mistake you can make in this industry, so companies like Ray and Wilhelm and Scott don't have to make the same mistakes. So that's it's particularly like somebody that's never been in the business before, right? For a dealer to try and get into it without Tag, it's like this. With Tag, you bring it down to here. And the other thing that I'm a couple things I want to mention too is Ray mentioned Ryan here at Tag. He's our VP of Member Advancement, and he works closely with Scott's sales team on mentoring and coaching every 2 weeks of identifying, okay, where are they at with generating opportunities, and then how to push those opportunities through Tag's sales process to get it to close. And then from there, our operational team with Jonathan and Trevor work with Wilhelm to provide them with the processes in place to make sure the onboard goes great, and then the lifetime of the customer stays with Altek forever because they're delivering a great customer experience. So it's the whole thing from the up front of setting an appointment all the way to finally deploying the solution and having everybody experience what they want to experience out of it, right? And so we're exceeding expectations. Altek is exceeding their customer expectations. But it also comes from, I didn't mention earlier, but we're in the business too. So we run and own our own organization that sells managed IT, cloud IT with Azure, cybersecurity and telephony and video surveillance and access control. throughout Southern California, from Los Angeles to Orange County to San Diego. So by being in the business as well, we have the pulse of what's going on in the industry. We know we know how to sell it directly. We know how to service it directly. So we take everything that we do, we're an open book. And so not only do we talk the talk as tag, but we walk the walk, because we sell to the same companies that Ray's selling to in Pennsylvania. We're just doing it here in Southern California. And so we're in the trenches just like our members.
You know, you invited me, and I was very happy to be able to attend your national meeting, I think it was, out here in
Yep.
Scottsdale. And Ray, were you at that meeting?
I was not. Scott
Okay.
and Wilhelm were out there representing our company, but I wasn't able to make that one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to meet them then. But what struck me the most, and I think one of the challenges for our industry, is to continue to bring strong knowledge, strong influence, strong partnerships. And you were both basically saying this. The stack has to be clarified. The partners have to be vetted properly. And what really struck me at your event was it was a cornucopia of knowledge and partners. I
Yeah.
mean, you wherever you wanted to look, you were going to find something to help your business,
Yep.
and or people were going to find you. So my hat's off to you for establishing that program, and I encourage more dealers to actually go. And Ray, you know, back to your point, you talked about your EBITDA, right? So Brian's very proud of the fact that they helped you with your EBITDA. And when you look at the business, I think one of the things that strikes me is the inability to create excitement for our industry, you know, to attract new young people, to be able to send a message that says, hey, you know what? It is a profitable business, and it is exciting, and it actually is going, or is already, where the excitement part of the business is, either in the cloud or applications or integrations. So do you tell that story to people that you're hiring? Is it part of your message to your culture of your company, Ray?
Definitely. The IT services is a big part of what we're selling to young people coming into the industry, because copiers aren't quite as sexy as they used to be. You know, you tell people you sell copiers, they're not waiting at the door lining up at your door to come in and sign up. But it seems that IT services is a lot more of a desirable product to sell. The technology stack, including IT services, on and off ramp, either printers and scanners, just about any type of technology that's going to help our customer do what they do better without worrying about the back end, is what we're trying to provide.
So you're excited. Rest of this year, looking forward into next year, short of any weird things, you're excited about the future.
We are, and one of the things that we did a couple of years ago. I'm glad. You and I are part of the old order. I'm probably second generation. It sounds like. I don't go back as far as you, but I got in the business in 81 when plain paper copiers. Shortly after plain paper copiers hit the marketplace. And so we have some stories to tell about how we used to sell them back then, and prospect, and it was different than it was today. And I began to realize that more and more. I think a lot of us that have been in the business 20, 30 years, that either own companies or are managing sales departments, and a lot of salespeople that have the tenure. I used to envy these companies that have salespeople that have 20 or 30 years experience in the industry. But what I've been hearing the last 2-3 years, especially through COVID, is that things have changed so dramatically. They're the ones struggling to adapt to the new marketplace out there. And it was partly our decision and partly, I guess, circumstance that we were going through back in 2018-19. We started on a program called Traction. You're probably aware of that. The book. There's a book and an entrepreneurial system that we started with back in 2018. And long story short, we went through a transformation as a company here, and always had strong core values, but didn't always hold them up in front of the employees. We like to think that we were hiring people that met our core values, but maybe didn't hold fast enough to them. If I had a salesperson that wasn't meeting those core values, but they were selling, I'd hold on to them, and vice versa. But we we changed over our entire sales staff in 2019. Our sales staff was Scott and myself, and that's when I gave him. And Scott's about 30 years younger than I am, 35 years younger than I am. So I was finally ready to step back and say, okay, I'm going to allow a um, somebody younger to come in here. And I mean, they had ideas that I didn't think were going to work, and I was I was not quite supporting all of the methods of prospecting and the marketing that he wanted to push out there, and the type of people. I mean, some of the people that we're hiring today. I probably would, I'd be looking for the guys wearing the white shirts and the blue suits. And our sales team is no longer wearing suits. I mean, once in a while I'll see one in a sports jacket.
That's right.
I'm very much the oddball around here anymore.
Yeah.
And this is dressing up for me anymore. I mean, it's a different culture that they've created this outstanding culture in here where the sales bullpen is a pit full of activity and enthusiasm. They're out there razzing each other and inspiring each other, competing against each other, taunting each other. It's just a neat thing to watch. But we have, when other dealers in our peer group are complaining that they aren't getting any net new business, year to date, actually last quarter, 60% of the business that we wrote in the hardware end was net new business.
Wow.
So they're out there prospecting with some really unique, interesting prospecting methods, mailing campaigns, using a lot of social media, and cold calling. Cold calling is not dead. They go out there, but they'll do things like dress in full Marshmallow Man costumes for Halloween. They'll go out prospecting in these, and it's an amazing. They'll have people go over, invite them to come over. They'll ask them if they can go take a picture of the decision maker standing next to their copier along with them in costume. And
that's brilliant. That is brilliant.
It's really neat.
I would never have guessed that cold calling would still be a thing, but that's brilliant. So as we come around the corner here, a couple of personal questions. So more related to you as human beings. So, one of my big focuses the last few years, especially through COVID, has been how to bridge the humanity side of our business, to maintain the thing that was essential to the success of our industry, which was face-to-face relationships, team spirit, mentoring, service leadership. It sounds to me, Ray, like you've been able to cross the divide, with maintaining that kind of a culture and even enhancing it, while not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So on a personal side, I'm kind of curious, who mentored you? Who helped you to find that wisdom and be able to impart it to your team? Who was the person in your life that you said, I want to be like that person?
Well, early on, I probably never told him, and he's if he watches this podcast, maybe I'll get a telephone call from him. But I worked for 1 year under Rick Bastinelli, and he had a huge impact on me professionally, just to see him, how he conducted himself, both in front of prospects and customers, but also within the organization, sales team, holding people accountable, and how he did it in such a way. But he had a tremendous influence on me. But I think there have been a number of people over the years that I have worked with, some from the manufacturers. Trying to think of some names, but
Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but you sure picked a great one, in Rick Bastinelli.
Yeah, I was only with him for a year, but I learned a lot from him in that 1 year. Just we went from working with him to starting our own business, and jumped from working under a great mentor into the frying pan for a while, but it did survive. And I oftentimes think back. I find myself thinking in different situations, what would Rick say or do in this situation?
Well, I think he's like a brother to me, yes. So I think the answer to that is he would find it smart. He would be smart. He would be elegant. He would be gracious and articulate. I mean, they don't come much better than Rick Bastinelli. So That's a good commercial for you, Rick, if you're out there. So, and by the way, Rick, are you using tag? So how about you, Brian? Who, along the same lines, you seem to have the same culture as what we're talking about with Ray. So who was your
Yeah, we
mentor?
do. Yeah, we're fortunate to have a great culture here at TAG. We have a lot of great people here, and we surround ourselves with great people and great members. And it's a culture of mentoring versus managing, right? We always live by and my mentor taught me that, and I'll mention his name momentarily. But he taught me that no one works for anybody. You work with people. You don't work for people. And and when you create a culture like that, because it's kind of very egotistical to say my employees or my team. We always say around here, no matter what level you are at TAG, it doesn't matter. We work with each other. We don't work for each other, and it's just a different way of looking at it. And the convention that you were at, you mentioned that was our 21st annual convention in Scottsdale, back in April. But we did a breakout session on mentoring versus managing, and that was that concept of you can gain more in an organization, more cohesiveness, more collaboration if you mentor versus manage. And it's just a different way of looking at things, right? But Dale Stein, who's my partner here at TAG, I have two wonderful partners here at TAG. I met Dale 20 plus years ago, and he took me under his wing. Phenomenal visionary, amazing business mind, amazing entrepreneur. Built a lot of successful businesses, and he took me under his wing, and I learned a lot from him. He's a father to me, and obviously you've had an opportunity to get to know Dale. He's an amazing human being. Ray has too, and everybody on Ray's team, and it's been a great relationship. We have a great friendship with each other, and I've learned a lot, and I'm so fortunate in life that I had the relationship that I have with Dale. And we also have another gentleman here, another partner, Dale Johnson, another phenomenal serial entrepreneur, just like Dale Stein. And both gentlemen mentored me and have had a huge impact on my life. And I took every opportunity that they were able to give me and capitalized on it. And I like to think that I've been able to make them proud along the way. So.
Well, I know them both. I certainly know Dale Stein a little bit better. But you're right. He's a great guy. I can relate to the experiences that I've had with both of you and your team members. But I remember right in the beginning, Dale and I kind of hit it off. And he's one of those old school guys like me that I just really appreciate and keep that culture going. The industry needs it. So Ray, you're a breakthrough guy. You're excited about the industry. I'm thrilled to have this opportunity actually to visit with you a little bit and get to know you. Hopefully you can make it out to the Executive Connection Summit. I know Dale and Brian will be there in a big way. But as we leave, the most important question of all is your favorite Sinatra song. Do you have a favorite Sinatra song? And if you don't, it's okay, but you just can't come back.
So first ones that come to mind are certainly My Way and New York, but I think my favorite all time is the Way You Make Me Feel Tonight. That one is
that's a good one.
Melancholy, reflective.
You picked a few of the good ones, and the list is long, so it's kind of hard to narrow it down. But the fact you had a few is good. Now, Brian, you better have one.
Well, Ray took the ones I'm familiar with. So when you mentioned when you got into this industry, I was just a kid. So that shows you a little bit about me. But no, the same with Ray. And then
you didn't need to say that, Brian. You did not need to.
I know, right? Well, you said you wanted to get some laughs out of this. So
we do.
There you go. But no. I was born in Chicago, lived my whole life here in San Diego, but the Sinatra song about Chicago, being his kind of town and that kind of thing. So that always kind of rings true for me.
Well, my kind of town, that's Sinatra. So Chicago is my kind of town, right? But the fact that you just demonstrated, you threw me under the bus. It was a nice it was a nice visit. Boom, right over. The bus just took me. So, gentlemen, if you had final words of wisdom for the dealer community, in summary, in closing, what is that one thing, Ray, that you would just say, come on, guys, get this together, do this? Would you have some advice?
I would say, first of all, people ask me, what do I think it took us to succeed? I said, everybody falls down. You just have to get up one more time than you've fallen down. So you just keep trying, but don't do it alone. I found too late in life that there's a lot of people out there with a lot of valuable information. And sometimes we hate to spend the money. We think, I'm an old Dutchman, like Wilhelm's an old Dutchman. We think we know how to do this. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. We worked through tougher problems before, but you really don't need to reinvent the wheel. It takes too long and costs far too much money to try to figure out how to do things on your own when you can hire somebody like Tag to come in and show you how to do it right the first time.
Well, that's good counsel. And Brian, what would you offer as the final closing advice for the community?
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Ray so much for all the kind words he said about our team here, and his the value he's been able to receive from our organization. It makes me happy every day. We wake up every day thinking, what are we going to do different tomorrow to bring greater value to our members? So thank you, Ray, for all the kind words. Greatly appreciate that. To everybody out there, this is the most exciting time to be in this industry. Take advantage of it. The technology, the opportunities that are facing us to help your companies grow and expand and succeed. You're all sitting on a gold mine, and that gold mine is the relationships and the customer base you have. It's just a matter of taking advantage of those, not taking advantage of the relationships. What I mean by that is providing your customers with even greater value, and you do that by expanding your portfolio. You do that by giving greater value to your customers and diversifying like Ray did so many years ago, as he mentioned. But it's the most exciting time to do it. Rally your team, be a visionary for those that you lead. All of you are leaders. If you're the owner, entrepreneur for your dealership, be that visionary, get your team excited, know the talents that you have around you, and just stay focused on what you want to accomplish, because it is the most exciting time. And then, like Ray said, surround yourself with great people and then great organizations. Consortium is one, BTA is another, Ray's part of the Pro Dealer Group, that's another. Company organizations like Tag, that's another. Like he said, don't do it alone, and we're all striving for greatness, but like I say, be that visionary for your organization. And we deal with so many companies like Ray that have a renewed energy and a renewed focus because of that, everything he said today, and that's what's exciting for us, and we get to work with them and guiding them in the right direction.
Well, really great closing comments, and frankly, I agree with both of you. And you align yourself with great people or great groups. So that seems to be a pretty consistent message. So my thanks to both you gentlemen. You certainly have made this hour go by like boom. And I'm looking forward to having follow-up conversations with you at either BTA or any number of the industry events. And Ray, it's been a real pleasure to get to know you. And I promise you, I will pass on a hello to my brother from another mother, Rick Castanelli. So, gentlemen, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Take care, and thank you, Ray.
Thank you.